Hey, fire starters. Loyalty does not get you what it used to. It's just not there anymore. People don't care about long-term clients or structures or customers or benefits. It's everybody is living in the now. And loyalty does not get you what you think it should get you. Today, I'm going to tell you guys a couple of recent stories of some events in my own life that made me really reconsider loyalty. And not only loyalty in your own personal life, but loyalty as far as where it directs you to go in your career. So I'm so happy you joined us for episode 193 of License to Live.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 193 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to License to Live. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And today, we're going to be talking about loyalty. I know a lot of you guys are walking around the same workplace, the same institution for many years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years or more. And for a lot of you, your career has not gone exactly the way you wanted it to because you were relying a lot on loyalty to help get you to those next levels. But loyalty simply doesn't work the way it used to. And today I'm going to be giving you some strategies to get yourself together so that in the case loyalty in your own workplace does not work out for you, you have an alternative plan to help you reach the goals that you want to hit. And we're going to get started with that right after we finish thanking our sponsors. Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
EH3 has been a long time sponsor of this show, and you guys know one of my morning routines: get up, gratefulness, meditation, reading, reflection, and having a little EH3 in the morning. So, hey, whatever your morning routine becomes, add a little EH3 into your life. So I'm going to begin by telling a couple of stories about loyalty. I recently had some interactions with some large international companies that I used to pay to do things for me. The first one was an insurance company. Now, oh boy, I know this audience and the fire starters can relate to insurance because, well, insurance on so many different levels, professionally, personally, for your home, for your auto, my motorcycles, whatever it may be, it's a headache. And not only that, it becomes more and more and more expensive. And I had been a 20 plus year, maybe 22, 23, 24 plus year client of this large national company. Now, if I know you guys, what company was it? Was it one I had? Was it this? I'm not going to go into all the details of this insurance company, but they do have a mascot, because I know some insurance companies differentiate between a mascot and not have a mascot. And that mascot is green and clever and witty and all of that. And I have never had a problem with the service. If somebody hit my car, no biggie, let's get it fixed. No hassles. If something, happened to my motorcycle, same thing. If I get a rock in the windshield, let's replace it or let's fix it. No, absolutely no issues with this company as far as service. But the issue became around rates. When my rates doubled, and then they doubled again, and I hadn't had any accidents, I hadn't had anything. They simply had a long 20 plus year driving history of everybody and me and my family that they knew was a very low risk. However, they probably don't work with their actuarial professionals to look at those kind of things when they're trying to set out goals and how much things are supposed to cost and where things go from there. And they just gave me whatever rates people are getting everywhere based on whatever the latest hurricane damage was in Florida or the Caribbean, and trying to offset some of the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars they may have lost in the previous year. And they want to get it all off of my back. So I had a long-term discussion with this company saying, look, these rates are ridiculous. And something happened here and here. And I know everybody's rates went up. I'm accepting of that. But then my rates went up here and here again. And they started digging into it and said, this is interesting. And somehow my loyalty of this 20-something years was not taken into factor when they did my current rates. And the agent told me there was nothing they could do. I asked to speak to a supervisor. There was nothing they could do. This is the rate that we can offer. This is the best rate we can offer. And so now I've really had it. Now I'm kind of furious. I said, these rates are ridiculous. I could buy a new car for these kind of rates. And lo and behold, what did I do? I just said, now I have to move on. I have to go look at other companies and see what companies are out there and what they want to do. And I didn't have to look very far. I mean, these insurance commercials are on all the time. So I said, let me just try somebody new, because I don't plan on getting in an accident. These bigger companies probably aren't going to give me any hassle. So I give them a try, which, as opposed to what I had been doing with this other company, is just trimming my coverage, trying to trim expenses, maybe not even insuring some of my fleet because I wasn't driving them anymore. All of these things got thrown in there, and I was able to find insurance for a better price. Now, of course, I have a letter that's sent out to one of the VPs at this old company highlighting this particular case, because I'm sure the executives sitting around the table are saying to themselves, well, if we have somebody for 20 plus years, why would we want to use them? That's just money in the bank. And if we haven't had to kick them out because they've had a high claims rate or anything like that, then they simply don't get the chance to come back. And as a result of that, I just simply left. I called the company and said, hey, my insurance coverage is ending on Tuesday. I need something else to join me by Tuesday. And there we go. And that's what we've done. And from there, I said, okay, well, let me just move on. And I was able to pay half of what I had paid for the previous 6 months and had better coverage, much more coverage, more accustomed to what I had been carrying on my policies in years past. So I simply had to move on. So, after on the next term, I may go back and reapproach my old company and say, hey, did you guys think about this again? Are you willing to work with me? Or I just stick with the new one, because I'm sure there'll be some insurance rate adjustments with the new company, and they have the low rates just to get you in. But let's wait and see. I'm sure many of you guys have had that experience. Well, my second experience started with a company in which I use for security around my office, my home, and it's another large national company, international company, I'm sure, that does security for homes, security for businesses. And over the last 6 months, the equipment in my home is kind of aged. It's working, but it doesn't fire on all the cylinders it should. It doesn't connect, remotely to cellular and all of this kind of stuff. So I said, all right, hey, I've been a customer for 20 something years with you guys. How about hooking me up with some equipment, hooking me up with some upgrades just so my equipment at home is up to date, and do it, at a reasonable cost. And they say, oh yeah, sure, we can do this. We have a special of this, this, and this. And honestly, the equipment upgrades and installation fees and all this stuff would be almost $8,000. So, okay, said once in all, $1,000, no big deal. Get some new equipment in there. But it's more on the principle of this. For someone who's been paying fees for 20 plus years, maybe in the same category, somebody who's been paying fees for 3 years or 1 year, 2 years. So I did not get this. And I talked to supervisors. In fact, currently in the studio, I'm still on hold with this company because I just said, hey, just cancel my service. But then they left me out there hanging, and I haven't heard from them yet. But I did tell them that as I'm on their recorded line, now they are on a recorded line because I'm in the studio recording this podcast. So I may not be able to tell the end of this story, but they looked it up again and they found this and that. Well, we could upgrade your equipment for $500. Said, no, thank you. Not interested. It's on principle. And they understand. They said, yeah, of course they may not speak to 20 plus year clients every day, but they realize the value in that. But their hands are tied to a certain extent. And as a result, perhaps after I get off hold, we'll go ahead and cancel this service. But companies make it very hard to cancel services, and they really don't want to see a 20 plus year customer go out there. So we have all of these different companies that say, oh, we have loyalty programs, we have this and that, but loyalty just doesn't go as far as it used to. 20 years doesn't do what it used to do. And I want all of you fire starters to reflect on this as you're thinking about where you are in your day-to-day life. So sure, if you have insurance problems or security issues in your office or home, and you're like, yeah, I'm dealing with that right now myself, go ahead and take care of it. I told you what I did, and I'll keep you posted on that. But for those of you, I want you to broaden this concept to your work life and to your career, and how sometimes you hang around these places for a long time. Like I said in the beginning, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And your hope is that as good as you've taken care of the institution, they're going to take care of you. And you're just going to automatically see some promotion. You're going to get raises. You're going to get all of these things because you've been busting your butt for all of these years. They should give you something. Well, you guys know my License to Live story. And at that time, I think I was at that institution for, oh my goodness, maybe 12 or 14 years. And, you know, I guess they did the best they could for someone who had been there that long. But, you know, eventually they had to just cut their ties with me and said, okay, well, be gone, be out there. You're going to have to fend for yourself on all of this stuff. And well, luckily for me, that's what I was forced to do. And that's what I had to do. And that's what has me speaking to you on this podcast right now. So the end of that story ended up a little bit better than my insurance story with the logo, or my security service story with this big blue nationally known security company. But whatever the case is, I want you to think about how loyalty may not be working in your favor in your own job. And I'm going to give you 4 strategies to get yourself on the right track right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
I am so blessed to be able to talk to so many people over all the U.S., even some Canada, some Mexico lately. And people are calling in simply because they want the strategy session. And people are having breakthroughs based on this strategy session. They get to move their lives forward in a place where they've been stuck. So I don't play lightly when I say, hey, go to drjarrett.com, set up your strategy session, or go to timewithdrjarrett.com, set up your free strategy session, or just call me on my daggone cell phone, 484-362-9850, and be like, hey, Dr. Jarrett, I need some help. And particularly if we work together around some of these problems, they disappear and you reach bigger and better heights. And that's really what I've done. And if you watch me on social media, and all you guys pay attention to Dr. Jarrett, at Dr. Jarrett, spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E-1-T, you'll see some of these testimonials that have been coming out about the services and what it's done for their lives. And they're pretty unique testimonials. So keep your eye out for those. Now, as far as the 4 things you can do to combat your original strategy, which was loyalty, and you were just going to have loyalty to get you set up and hanging on with the rest of your career and how it goes, loyalty is not your strategy. You need to develop a strategy, and I am giving you a strategy in this podcast that will be consistent with 4 simple steps. And the first one is to know your worth. I had a whole episode. It's probably in the first, 60 episodes of this podcast or so. I don't even remember what episode it was. It was so long ago that we talked about knowing your worth. But in essence, you've worked somewhere for an extended period of time, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years plus. You have developed an incredible set of skills based on the work that you've currently been doing that guess what? Those skills don't stay behind in the institution. They go with you. So you have grown, you have developed, you have further honed your gifts that you've been given. You further honed your talents that you've been given. And all of these things add to your worth and your contribution. Now, a lot of times people may not be talking about you in the boardroom because you didn't win a $400 million contract that is going to save the bottom line of the company. But there are these small things that you can use in your own defense of why you need to move on, why you need to move up, why you need to be doing bigger and better things, simply because of all of those skills you've developed and learned over the years. Not to mention if you've had anything that may have contributed to revenue on the bottom line or contributed to the savings that are here. All of those things are there. And if you don't know your worth, you don't know what you're going to be worth in the current marketplace, because maybe your marketplace is 5, 10, 20 years older, and you may get a cost of living adjustment. You may get a bonus here and there, but that really doesn't determine or come close to your modern day worth in 2024. So first and foremost, know your worth. It's a lot higher than most people think. And when you start looking at the skills, when you start looking at the talent people are looking for out in those talent pools, it goes on and on and on. So make sure, fire starters, you know your worth. The second thing that I want you to know is to know your plan. Because a lot of your plans out there, especially career-wise, has just been based on longevity. Well, I just want to find a job that I like and can tolerate and can work for the next 35 years and then retire and then get a pension and go sail the world. Well, guess what? You've given them your best 35 years. By the time you finish, and many of you guys know, by the time people retire, they get cancer and die. They get in an accident. They can't walk anymore. They can't do this. They can't do that. And then your retirement is full of medical appointments and things that aren't that fun because you didn't have that plan other than longevity. And you just said, when I walk in this door 35 years later, I'm going to walk out of it and I'm going to be retired. So it's time to know your plan. So number one, you have to make a plan if you don't have one. And if you don't have a plan, one of the things that I like to encourage people to do is ask the question. As a pediatrician, I ask this question all the time to my pediatric patients. And it's one you should ask yourself, because at some age, you stop asking this question. It's a simple question. What do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to be when I grow up? Well, we're never finished growing. That's what knowing your worth is about. You grow, you develop. And just because you're not physically getting taller, all those gray hairs that may be popping out in your head, those are experience, signs of experience. So you have been growing and developing this whole time. Simply stop and ask the question, what do I want to be when I grow up? And think about what that is. And then as you're thinking about the skills, the growth, the development that you've had and what you want to do as your next step. So it may be you have a 3-step system. It may be something that you have to go forward to, but it's okay. Make up that plan and have it clear in your mind. Because if it's not clear in your mind, it's definitely not going to be clear for anyone else. And this is probably the time you can start to touch up your curriculum vitae or your resume and just get it ready in the case you don't get a resolution in your current place. Well, I told you, and I was serious, that I've been on hold while I've been making this podcast. So I'm just going to check in with this company quickly while I have them on the line. Just letting you guys know here, you are on a recorded line because you're now part of the License to Live podcast. I'm just waiting to cancel my service. All right. Sorry for that brief interlude, folks. I just had to let them know where they stand as, I'm continuing to play the game here. And been on with them for over an hour and 10 minutes now. Something happened. It's a glitch, but it's likely a part of the strategy just to keep people enrolled. I'm okay with that, but you got to play the game. That's what it's all about. So step 1 for you fire starters out there, know your worth. Step 2 for you fire starters, know your plan. And step 3 for all of you, make your intentions known. This is a step that many don't do. And a lot of the clients I've helped along the way, we've talked about this specific plan, and lo and behold, it works. People are not mind readers. Your bosses, your superiors, your colleagues, they can't read your mind. They don't know what you want. They're just trying to get through and scurry through their day, getting things done day by day. It is not something that they're thinking about you all the time. So it's important, once you know your plan, make your intentions known. So this is when you actually reach out to a superior, reach out to a supervisor, reach out to some of your colleagues and speak to them and start telling them the things that you would like to do. And it's important to be clear and explicit about this, not maybe talk about code. Oh, it'd be nice to be a VP someday, or oh, it'd be nice to be an SVP someday. All of these things are great, but it's a little vague, and people say, yeah, sure it would be, and keep it moving. So it's important for you to be clear and explicit and make a statement like, I would like to be a chief medical officer within the next 3 years. Okay, that is something very specific. And that is something you can tell someone. And that is something you can actually ask a question. How would I go about doing that? Now, this is when you're kind of letting your intentions be known. You know, you're not going to show up and say, well, here's my list of demands or else I'm quitting. No, that doesn't work, because at the end of the day, they're going to let people go at any time, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The show will roll on. The organization will live without your presence. So it'll be very important for you to continue to be very clear and explicit about your intentions. Now, finally, this is the part that makes everybody nervous. The 4th tip out here today is to simply move on. Because a lot of times you have to make a decision, and if things aren't going the right way, and they haven't been going the right way in the last 5 or 10 or 20 years, what makes you so certain they're going to change for the better in the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years from now? That is a risk, and that's a risk you can take. That's why so many people get stuck in loyalty. But right now, in 2024, loyalty sucks. People don't engage in it. People don't get excited about it at all. They simply say, well, okay, you win some, you lose some. The show must go on. And that's what you must do. You must take that corporate stance. And I know it's scary. And I know it requires change, and it may require disruptive change. It may require you to move to another city, which brings its own headaches of finding housing and transportation and wondering if you're going to like the new place. And what if this new place is not better? Well, it will be better because you have more clarity, because you have made your plan and you know your plan. So you can look for the things that you know will make you happy in the next job. So it is stepping out on faith. But people who've been in institutions for a long time are very desirable to other institutions because they don't want to hire people every 2 years for the same position over and over and over again. Cost them money, cost them time, and they don't get the growth and development that they do when it is invested within one person and they are keeping themselves moving all the way through. So as you're thinking about moving on, which tends to be the most scariest piece, once you have done step 1, 2, and 3, once you've known your worth, you know your plan, and you've made your intentions known, and they still fall upon deaf ears, it is time to move on. And that's what I'm encouraging you guys to do, fire starters, now or anytime. And of course, if you just need help with that piece specifically, hit me up. But as I'm sitting on hold for the past, coming on an hour and a half now, waiting to move on, and they know I want to move on because I made my intentions known. I know my worth. I've added up all those subscription fees over the years. I know what my plan is because I've planned on using another company that will be less expensive if I need to. I've made my intentions known, which is why I'm still on hold for so long. And eventually I am going to move on. So I'm encouraging all fire starters to go through these steps in your own life. And it may be around insurances and securities like it has been for me, but it should also be in your career life, because when you take these steps, your life is going to change for the better. Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been dissed, disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised with their career, please join them please invite them to join us along this journey. I mean, we have ranked this podcast in multiple countries, including finally hitting and cracking some of the US charts. I appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me, and I please encourage you to spread the messages with your friends, because I know the things that you'll learn in this podcast, the stories that you hear about this podcast as we're coming up to episode 200, that's going to make the change. And don't forget, we're coming to your town. And a lot of the towns that we pick is going to be based on the largest listenership to this show. So if you want your city to pop on the map, you got to get your friends involved, listen to the show, and I'll be more than happy to come in person and have a lot of fun. But in the meantime, check me out on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn and everywhere else at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word doctor, J-A-2-R-E-1-T. And let me know what you want to hear about, because I'm giving the information that the fire starters want to hear. And in between episodes, I'll see you on social media, and I'll see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.